There are things women deeply desire in a man, needs that go beyond looks, money, or status. These are the emotional triggers, the subtle behaviors, and the unspoken signals that create real attraction and lasting connection. The truth is, many women won't directly tell you these things, not because they don't matter, but because they want you to feel them, to understand them without being told. When you learn to recognize these hidden desires, you don't just become more attractive, you become unforgettable. Emotional safety is one of the most powerful, yet most overlooked, forces in attraction. It's not about being perfect, always saying the right thing, or never making mistakes. It's about the feeling a woman gets when she's around you, the sense that she can relax, be herself, and not constantly filter her thoughts or emotions. When a woman feels emotionally safe with a man, she doesn't feel like she's walking on eggshells or performing to keep his interest. Instead, she feels accepted, understood, and respected at a deeper level. This starts with how you respond to her when she opens up. Most men make the mistake of trying to fix everything. They hear a problem and immediately jump into solution mode. But what she often wants isn't a solution, it's understanding. It's the feeling that you're actually listening, that you're present with her emotions rather than trying to rush past them. When you slow down, when you let her express herself fully without interrupting or minimizing what she's saying, you create a space where she feels heard. And that feeling is incredibly rare. It also shows up in how you handle her vulnerability. If she shares something personal and you dismiss it, joke about it, or change the subject too quickly, she learns that opening up to you isn't safe. But if you respond with calmness, empathy, and genuine curiosity, she feels encouraged to go deeper. That's where real connection begins, not on the surface, but in those moments where she feels she can trust you with her thoughts and emotions. Emotional safety is also about emotional stability. It's about being a man who isn't unpredictable or reactive. If your mood swings constantly, if you get defensive or angry easily, it creates tension. She starts to hold back, not because she doesn't care, but because she doesn't know how you'll react. But when you're grounded, when you can handle situations with composure and maturity, she feels secure. She feels like she doesn't have to manage your emotions on top of her own. Another key part of this is acceptance, not trying to mold her into someone else, not making her feel like she has to change to be enough for you. When a woman senses that you appreciate her for who she is, her personality, her quirks, even her imperfections, it allows her to relax into her authentic self. And when she can be real with you, the connection becomes deeper and more meaningful. Emotional safety doesn't mean you agree with everything or avoid difficult conversations. It means you handle those moments with respect. You communicate without attacking. You listen without shutting down. You make her feel like even in disagreement, she's still valued. At the end of the day, emotional safety is what transforms attraction into something lasting. It's what makes her not just like you, but trust you. And when a woman trusts you emotionally, she invests in you in a way that goes far beyond surface-level attraction. Confidence is one of the most magnetic traits a man can have, but only when it comes from a place of authenticity rather than ego. The kind of confidence that truly draws a woman in isn't loud, forceful, or attention-seeking. It's calm, grounded, and quietly powerful. It's the way you carry yourself without needing constant validation, the way you stand firm in who you are without trying to prove it to everyone around you. A lot of men confuse confidence with arrogance, and that's where things go wrong. Arrogance is driven by insecurity. It needs to be seen, recognized, and constantly reinforced. It shows up as bragging, interrupting, or trying to dominate conversations. But confidence doesn't need to announce itself. It speaks through your actions, your consistency, and your presence. It's the ability to walk into a room and feel comfortable in your own skin, regardless of who's watching. Women are incredibly perceptive when it comes to this difference. They can sense when a man is trying too hard to impress versus when he's simply being himself. When you're overly focused on saying the right thing or trying to win approval, it creates pressure, not just for you, but for her too. But when you're relaxed, when you're not afraid to be genuine, it creates ease. And that ease is what makes interactions feel natural and enjoyable. True confidence also shows up in how you handle uncertainty and rejection. A confident man doesn't crumble when things don't go his way. He doesn't take everything personally or become defensive at the first sign of challenge. Instead, he stays composed. He understands that not every situation will work out perfectly, and he doesn't need it to in order to feel secure in himself. That emotional resilience is incredibly attractive because it signals strength without aggression. Another important aspect of confidence is decisiveness. It's the ability to make choices without overthinking or constantly second-guessing yourself. When you take the lead in simple situations, like suggesting a plan or making a decision, it shows that you trust your own judgment. This doesn't mean controlling everything, but it does mean being willing to step forward rather than always hesitating. That kind of energy creates a sense of direction, which many women find reassuring. Confidence is also deeply tied to self-respect. It's about knowing your worth and not settling for less than you deserve, while also treating others with respect. You don't chase validation, and you don't tolerate disrespect, but you also don't feel the need to put others down to feel better about yourself. It's a balanced sense of self that doesn't rely on external approval. Perhaps most importantly, confidence allows you to be present. When you're not stuck in your head, worrying about how you're being perceived, you can actually engage with the person in front of you. You can listen, respond, and connect in a real way. That presence makes conversations more meaningful and interactions more memorable. In the end, confidence without arrogance is about being secure in who you are while leaving space for others to be themselves too. It's not about dominating the room, it's about creating an environment where both of you can feel comfortable, respected, and genuinely connected. Genuine attention and presence are becoming rare in a world full of distractions, and that's exactly why they carry so much weight. When a woman feels like she has your full attention, it creates an emotional impact that goes far beyond surface-level attraction. It tells her, without you needing to say it, that she matters in that moment. And most people don't experience that often enough. Think about how many conversations today are half-lived. Someone is talking, but the other person is checking their phone, thinking about what to say next, or simply waiting for their turn to speak. That kind of interaction feels empty. But when you're truly present, when you're fully engaged in what she's saying, it changes the entire dynamic. You're not just hearing her words, you're understanding her meaning, her tone, her emotions. That depth of listening makes her feel seen in a way that's hard to fake. Presence starts with something simple but powerful: focus. When you put distractions aside and give her your undivided attention, it signals respect. It shows that you're choosing to be there with her, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Eye contact, small reactions, and thoughtful responses all play a role in communicating that you're engaged. These subtle cues tell her that you're not just going through the motions, you're actually connecting. But it goes deeper than just listening. Genuine presence also means being curious. Instead of asking questions just to keep the conversation going, you ask because you're interested in her perspective. You want to understand how she thinks, what she values, what excites her. That curiosity makes conversations feel alive rather than routine. It allows her to open up naturally, without feeling like she has to perform or impress. Another important part of presence is emotional awareness. It's not just about what she says, but how she feels. When you pick up on those emotional signals, whether she's excited, nervous, or even a little reserved, it allows you to respond in a way that feels aligned with her. This doesn't mean overanalyzing every detail, but simply being attentive enough to notice the shifts in her energy. That level of awareness creates a sense of connection that words alone can't achieve. Presence also means not rushing moments. So many people are focused on what comes next that they miss what's happening right now. When you slow down and allow the moment to unfold naturally, it creates space for something real to develop. There's no pressure to fill every silence or force every interaction. Sometimes just being comfortable in that space together speaks louder than anything you could say. And perhaps most importantly, genuine attention builds trust. When she knows that when she talks, you're actually listening, it encourages her to open up more. It creates a cycle where the connection keeps deepening because she feels safe to share more of herself. Over time, this builds a strong emotional bond that goes beyond initial attraction. In the end, presence isn't about grand gestures or impressive words, it's about showing up fully in the moment. When you do that consistently, you stand out in a way that most people don't even realize is possible. Leadership in the context of attraction is often misunderstood. It's not about control, dominance, or telling someone what to do. It's about creating direction, clarity, and a sense of ease in the interaction. When a woman feels like a man can take the lead in a grounded, respectful way, it allows her to relax and enjoy the experience without feeling like she has to carry the weight of every decision. One of the most attractive forms of leadership shows up in simple, everyday moments. Instead of constantly asking, "What do you want to do?" and putting the pressure on her, you step forward with a plan. It doesn't have to be perfect or elaborate. It can be as simple as suggesting a place to go, an activity to try, or a direction for the evening. What matters is that you're willing to take initiative. That initiative communicates confidence and intention, which naturally creates a sense of momentum. At the same time, true leadership is flexible. It's not rigid or controlling. You're not forcing your way or ignoring her preferences. You're paying attention, reading her responses, and adjusting when needed. This balance is what makes leadership feel attractive rather than overwhelming. She feels guided, not restricted. She feels included, not overpowered. That distinction is crucial because it builds comfort instead of resistance. Leadership also shows up in how you handle uncertainty. Situations don't always go as planned, and that's where many people lose their composure. But when you can stay calm, adapt, and find a solution without frustration, it creates a sense of stability. It tells her that you can handle challenges without becoming reactive or overwhelmed. That emotional steadiness is incredibly reassuring because it makes the experience feel safe and enjoyable. Another key aspect of leadership is decisiveness. Indecision can create tension because it leaves everything up in the air. When you hesitate too much or constantly second guess yourself, it can make the interaction feel uncertain. But when you make decisions with clarity, even small ones, it creates a sense of direction. It shows that you trust yourself and that trust is something she can feel. It doesn't mean you'll always be right, but it means you're willing to take responsibility for your choices. There's also an emotional side to leadership that often gets overlooked. It's about setting the tone of the interaction. If you're relaxed, positive, and engaged, that energy influences the entire dynamic. People naturally respond to the emotional environment you create. When you lead with calm confidence and a sense of purpose, it encourages her to mirror that energy. It turns the interaction into something that feels effortless rather than forced. Importantly, leadership is not about taking power away from her. It's about creating a shared experience where both of you feel comfortable and connected. You're not trying to control the outcome. You're simply guiding the moment in a way that feels natural and enjoyable. When done right, it actually gives her more freedom to express herself because she doesn't feel like she has to manage everything. In the end, leadership is about stepping up without overpowering, guiding without forcing, and creating direction without losing connection. It's a quiet strength that makes the entire experience feel smoother, more grounded, and far more memorable. Appreciation is one of those subtle forces that can completely transform how a woman feels in a connection, yet it's often expressed in the most surface-level ways. Saying something like, "You look nice," isn't wrong, but it barely scratches the surface of what truly makes someone feel valued. What she craves is appreciation that feels real, thoughtful, and specific. Something that tells her you're not just noticing her presence, you're noticing her. When appreciation is genuine, it reflects attention. It shows that you're actually observing the details most people overlook. Maybe it's the way she expresses herself, the effort she puts into something, or the energy she brings into a room. When you acknowledge those things, it creates a deeper emotional impact because it feels personal. It's no longer a generic compliment. It's something that could only come from someone who is truly paying attention. There's also a big difference between appreciating someone for what they are versus what they do. Many people are used to being valued for their looks or what they provide, but far fewer are appreciated for who they are as a person. When you recognize her character, her kindness, her resilience, her sense of humor, it touches something deeper. It makes her feel seen beyond the surface, and that kind of recognition stays with her. Timing plays an important role as well. Appreciation doesn't always have to be grand or perfectly worded. Sometimes it's the spontaneous moments that matter the most. When something about her stands out to you and you express it in that moment, it feels authentic. It doesn't feel rehearsed or forced. It feels like a natural reaction, and that's what makes it powerful. Another key element is sincerity. People can sense when appreciation is being used as a tool rather than a genuine expression. If it feels like you're saying something just to impress or get a reaction, it loses its impact. But when it comes from a real place, when you say it because you mean it lands differently. It feels grounded and trustworthy, which strengthens the connection rather than making it feel transactional. Appreciation also builds emotional momentum. When a woman feels valued, she naturally becomes more open, more engaged, and more willing to invest in the connection. It creates a positive cycle where both people feel good being around each other. It's not about constantly praising or overwhelming her with compliments. It's about consistently acknowledging the things that genuinely stand out to you. It's also important to appreciate effort, not just outcomes. When you notice the little things she does, the way she shows up, the way she contributes to the interaction, it reinforces that those efforts matter. It shows that you're not just focused on the end result, but on the intention and energy behind it. That kind of recognition creates a deeper sense of value. Ultimately, real appreciation is about making someone feel significant in a way that feels honest and effortless. It's not about saying more, it's about saying what actually matters. And when a woman feels truly appreciated, it doesn't just make her like you more, it makes her feel connected to you on a level that goes far beyond words. Consistency is one of the most powerful signals of genuine interest, yet it's often the one that's missing. Anyone can show up once and make a great impression. Anyone can say the right words in a moment, but what truly builds attraction and emotional connection over time is the ability to show up in the same way again and again. It's the pattern of your behavior that defines how she feels about you, not just isolated moments. When a man is inconsistent, it creates confusion. One day he's attentive, present, and engaged, and the next he's distant or unavailable without explanation. That unpredictability forces her to question where she stands. She starts analyzing every interaction, trying to figure out what changed, what she did wrong, or what it all means. And the truth is, attraction can't grow properly in that kind of uncertainty. It creates emotional instability instead of connection. Consistency, on the other hand, creates clarity. It removes the need for guessing. When your actions align with your words, it builds trust naturally. If you say you'll call, you call. If you make a plan, you follow through. These may seem like small things, but they carry a lot of weight because they show reliability. They show that you mean what you say and that your presence isn't temporary or conditional. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or available all the time. Consistency isn't about constant attention. It's about predictability in your character. It's about her knowing what kind of person you are and not being surprised by sudden changes in behavior. Even if you're busy or unavailable at times, the way you communicate that matters. When you're clear and honest, it maintains that sense of stability. Another important aspect of consistency is emotional steadiness. If your mood, energy, or behavior shifts dramatically without reason, it creates tension. But when you remain grounded and balanced, it allows the connection to feel safe. She doesn't have to adjust herself based on your unpredictability. Instead, she can relax into the interaction, knowing that what she experiences from you today will still be there tomorrow. Consistency also shows respect. It demonstrates that you value her time and energy enough to be reliable. When you follow through on what you say, it sends a message that she matters. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic actions. It's about the everyday reliability that proves your intentions are real. Over time, this reliability builds emotional security, and emotional security is what allows deeper feelings to develop. Without it, even strong initial attraction can fade because it doesn't have a stable foundation. But with it, the connection becomes stronger, more comfortable, and more meaningful. It's also worth understanding that inconsistency often comes from a lack of clarity within yourself. When you're unsure of what you want or how you feel, it reflects in your actions. But when you're clear about your intentions and aligned with them, consistency becomes natural. You don't have to force it. It simply becomes a reflection of who you are. In the end, consistency is what separates temporary attraction from lasting connection. It's not flashy and it doesn't always get immediate attention, but it's the quality that quietly builds trust over time. And once that trust is there, it creates a bond that is far more powerful than anything built on momentary effort.